I'm blessed to be here today with Tjinta. Welcome.
Can I actually just acknowledge the camera there, because I feel like that enables me to be a bit more authentic.
Please.
And so hi to anyone who ends up watching this, because that just felt really important for me, just to be really present. So.
Perfect. Thank you for doing that. I feel like we always come up with an edge, a learning edge in life. And I'm wondering what your lesson has been in recent times.
It's something around self-holding. So a lot of my journey has been around holding myself in a really loving, really safe way. And the nature of my soul calling has been to hold others in a really safe space and safe way. And an edge that is really present for me around that journey right now is, rather than holding safe space for other people, allowing them more fully to hold themselves. And so my nature is very much to give and to nurture and to love. And I know that my gifts are very strong in that way. But in order for me to really take care of myself as well, there needs to be balance. And I think that's a big learning for a lot of nurturers and healers and therapists and givers and mothers and people in general. And so I'm going through a transition with my work from holding space individually for people and being a therapist or a practitioner where someone comes to me for facilitation or guidance, to moving more into perhaps a group setting or into offering something online or something in a way that people can go to, but it's a self-guided, self-holding practice. And that's what I'm really passionate about, and is obviously part of my path and my journey as well, to really, really have that relationship so fine within myself, and that in my self-holding in such a way, I create that space automatically for somebody else who's in interaction with me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's so beautiful. But I would love to hear more about what it's like for you to hold yourself.
So a lot of it is coming back to being really present in the moment. A lot of it is being in my body with my sensations and fully surrendering and allowing and drinking whatever that is in. So letting go of all of the resistance, which essentially is what any suffering might be, whether it's physical pain or emotional waves or a lot of mental noise or thought processes, and coming back to an essential place of trust in that I'm okay in that moment, and regardless of whatever happens, that I can be with what that is. And so it looks like all sorts of things depending on the situation. And it could literally be holding myself, doing really physical self-care things like tucking myself into bed, going for a walk because I need to change my state that I'm in, calling someone for support, or more often than not, I think my practice keeps coming back to just really being in the present moment and my sensations and dissolving into that, and then going into a place of enjoyment too, without any attachment or craving for it. I suppose I have a lot of love for joy and for celebration. And so, where where I can in whatever process I'm in to really enjoy that, even if it's really painful. So, for example, something very recently, I woke up in the middle of the night, I think it was yesterday evening, and I was a bit sick, I was a bit fluey, and I woke up from being in a lot of pain. I had an intense, excruciating pain in my head, and I was massaging my neck, my head, and I drank some water, and I was a bit stuffy in my sinuses, and I just realised there's nothing I can do right now to change this, except accepting it, really. Just dropping the trying to figure out what it was and trying to change it and fix it already is so relieving. And in that I find joy as well. And then to actually go into that and dissolve it and feel it. So what I often do if I am doing a meditation practice similar to dealing with this pain is when I start to get pain in my legs or anything that's happening, to go fully into it, like my entire body dissolves into it, like the whatever the thing is becomes all of me. Like I feel everywhere, like and it gets to a point where it's actually really enjoyable, and I'm drinking it in. It's coming back to my experience and returning my energy and my attention, my focus from the external in any scenario back to my experience.
That's huge, and like I really, like as a nurturing person myself, hear how big that is to turn all your attention and senses back in. Yeah, it's almost like a 180 of like coming in, and then to meet whatever is there with spaciousness of like you're allowed to be there, and because that resistance doesn't bring an ease or an enjoyment, because it's just going to be like pushing up against something. But when you allow it, it's like there's all the space in the world for you, and your experience of like of it almost overtaking you, like the sensations like through your whole body is just beautiful. Like what a incredible journey with like something that was painful to bring into a state of full-bodied presence and even enjoyment.
Absolutely. What I really loved about what you said there was there's all the space in the world for you. Like I feel that to come into touch with that in any experience is so self-nurturing and self-holding, to like bring your focus in and then open up into that spaciousness of full allowing.
A question I really love in that same vein comes from a kind of non-dual teacher. His name's Isaac Shapiro. He's in this area. But it's how can I be in this moment in a way that feels beautiful to me right now? And it's such a simple inquiry, but the simple, that intention of I want to feel enjoyment and ease, and then like allowing that rearranging to happen in your system. It's like, such a good reminder.
Yeah, and that rearranging in our systems too, like I think that's really lovely to name as well, because we're so adaptable and we can rearrange again and again and again in a new way around the same thing.
I'm just like curious about your relationship to joy and how you invite that into your life.
Well, it feels almost like something that just is in me already, like an intrinsic part of my nature. So I feel like I have a little bit of a default response. Yeah, when I don't have things that are too challenging and too pressing on me, and even in those moments I can often find the humour it might take me a little while to get out of the clouds sometimes, but yeah, so my relationship to that is that it's always there, and I could find joy in anything really. And I do find it in the really simple things. Like I can just look at something really simple and find beauty in it. But when I think of the nature of joy and the experience of joy and the word joy, I also think of celebration. And celebration is something that's really dear to my heart as well. And they're I suppose, almost like interchangeable words, or quite linked for me too. Because in joy, I feel like I'm celebrating. And it is such an expansive vitality, fulfilling, growing energy that we have access to and can make a choice about in any moment. And I'm quite passionate actually around bringing more celebration into our lives and to create more culture around celebrating, particularly in our country here, where we have the tall poppy syndrome, and there's a lot of cutting down when people are standing tall or achieving or sharing, and shame around being seen and all sorts of things, that it just to me feels like a real antidote for so many things.
Oh wow.
And so I was even thinking yesterday, doing a bit of writing around my soul work that's coming through in trickles, and I'm just allowing and showing up each day to receive and watch its natural unfolding around a philosophy of celebration, you know, or some kind of chosen culture and guiding principle to come back to of celebrating. So celebrating any kind of experience that one might find themselves in, and taking the learning and the simple things, you know, just coming back to the simple things again and again, so that when we are having our personal triumphs and revelations or very significant achievements and completions, we can really reap the benefit of that energy and let it fulfill us like nourishing food and spill out of us and keep spilling out the ripple effect of that. And so we also really take stock and become present with our journey and where we've come from, and to be here and really give to ourselves in that way as well. Because I've known a lot of people who achieve incredible amounts of output and creation and work and achievement in themselves. And I'm often the first person when someone's sharing with me to be so excited and celebrate with them. It's something that I love, because it gives me so much to see other people shining, and to, I suppose it's one way of pouring out the love that I feel. But also to give that person, or to give ourselves that nourishment, you know, that giving back of all of that effort, and to fully complete something rather than go and miss so many things along the way, you know. Because if we're not stopping and being present and celebrating and fully receiving that nourishment too, quite easily all of the great things we do, all of the great things we come through, all the great gifts we give can become a chore, or you know, we can end up wondering why we're doing it if we're not stopping and receiving from it too, you know. Yeah.
Wow.
So joy and celebration,
So
I think it's so fundamental resources that are so loving for all of us.
So powerful hearing you talk about celebration. Like, I've never heard someone speak about it as such a important, valuable function. Like, it gives so much. Celebration, it's part of the creation journey.
Absolutely. Yeah, the completing of the cycle, and that filling us up of what we've given, all that energy. So it is sustaining, you know, just our living and our giving, and our being and doing. And
something else you mentioned was the tall poppy syndrome in Australia, and I'd love to hear more about how you see that. And
well, I don't see it so much because I have really beautiful community and people around me who do really honour and value and respect themselves and each other, and do have more of a desire to celebrate. But I suppose from my own experience, just growing up, feeling some shame or carefulness around celebrating and shining in response to how other people would feel. So I was in a beautiful women's circle at one point, and someone said that they were going to celebrate their joy for having come so far and all the work they've done, and they were going to put the joy shame aside. And I just thought, that's it. Joy shame, like, and what a concept, you know, like the fact that we even feel that shame around our joy, you know, because other people might be experiencing really challenging situations, and we're wanting to take care of that. You know, and it comes back to self-holding and like what self-honouring, you know. Well, this is where I'm at and this is what I need right now, and bringing the focus back to ourselves. I think there is a prevalence of this tall poppy syndrome of cutting people down when they're doing really well, and we see it in schools when someone is a high-achieving student or a really great sportsman. You know, the joking manner amongst peers is to tease people who are doing really well, you know, rather than celebrate them and, you know, have banter in a positive manner.
why do you think that is, Tjinta? Like, where did it come from?
I suppose you're always going to have equal reactions to anything, and for some people that kind of joy sharing is really inspiring, and for some people, depending on where they're at in their state of their journey, it might also bring up and be confronting of a lot of their own challenges in themselves and their own points of growth. And I wrote a beautiful Facebook post at one point after I'd taken these gorgeous photos of myself in the light of these blinds in my friend's house, and it was just so beautiful, and I was feeling so full and so alive. And I just took all these different pictures of different positions with my eyes closed and up close and far away. And it was such a celebration of this beautiful light, of having a laptop that I could take photos of myself in with a countdown, and I could do all sorts of things. And it was so joyous. And with that series of photos, it was an album I made, I really sat down and just spoke about celebration. And I turned around the tall poppy syndrome to be tall sunflower shining rather than this syndrome. I thought we could reclaim it with a new flower, and sunflowers are so shining and they're constantly following the sun.
That's beautiful. Let's call that in the shining sunflower.
Yeah.
What is it that most brings you alive, Tjinta?
Just being in touch with my own soul. And in essence, that's just a really strong, clear feeling of connection.
Thank you so much, Tjinta. Thank you for sharing yourself. Your essence is such a gift.
Thank you, Ari.